Welcome to the AI for Career Success podcast by Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. This is episode 126.
I'm Daphne.
And I'm Fred.
Today we are looking at something our producer, Curt Robbins, suggested, and it's a huge one.
Oh, absolutely. It's this seismic shift happening at the very, very top of the tech market. We're talking about the rivalry between Alphabet and Nvidia.
Right. And the source for this is an article by John Thomas on LinkedIn. It was just published on November 25th, 2025.
And the title really says it all. Alphabet closes in on Nvidia as most valuable company.
Yeah, and this isn't just about stocks going up and down. The central conflict here is, who controls the next phase of AI. Alphabet is really challenging Nvidia's, $4.4 trillion valuation?
Trillion, yeah.
And it's all driven by cloud growth, the Gemini chatbot, and maybe most importantly, their own AI chips. It's about who owns the infrastructure.
Okay, so let's just start with Alphabet's climb, because the numbers are,
Yeah,
they're kind of staggering.
they really are.
Their shares surged 35% since just October. I mean, they'd added almost $1 trillion to their market cap.
$1 trillion in a few weeks. It's almost impossible to get your head around that. It brought them to $3.84 trillion.
And the stock hit an all-time high, right? Like $315?
$315.90, yeah. Up nearly 70% for the year. But the real question is, what's fueling this? What's the catalyst?
Well, it seems like a 1-2 punch of a great story and, real execution.
Exactly. The story part was the rapturous response, as the article puts it, to the new Gemini 3 chatbot update.
That's the flashy part.
That's the flash. But the substance, the part that investors really noticed, was the execution. Google Cloud revenue was up 34% in the third quarter.
Wow.
Yeah, and that helped push their total revenue over $102 billion. So this is real money being made from AI right now.
And that's so important because, for a while there, after ChatGPT came out in 2022, the feeling was that Google kind of lost its edge.
They had a credibility gap, big time. People felt they were caught flat-footed.
Right.
But this year's performance has completely changed that narrative. Plus, you have to remember, investors like Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, they jumped in. That signals a lot of confidence.
It's a huge stamp of approval. And you see that reflected in what the analysts are saying. Daniel Ives's view is that this whole AI revolution, we're still in the early innings.
Right, there's still years to go.
So for him, Alphabet joining that $4 trillion club with Nvidia and Apple and Microsoft, it's not the peak. It's a sign that everything is about to go even higher.
Which is, a very bullish take. But we should also throw in a word of caution here.
Okay.
The sources do point out that some financial analysts are a little worried. They think the stock price might have gotten ahead of itself,
A bit of an overreaction to the AI news.
Exactly. A little too much euphoria without the earnings to fully back it up just yet.
So that brings up the next big question. How does Alphabet make this valuation stick? And that leads right into this idea of vertical integration.
Yes. This is the part that's, it's an uncomfortable truth for a lot of people listening, especially any founders out there.
The idea that anyone can compete is, what, a fairy tale?
That's what the source calls it, a fairy tale. Because you just can't out-infrastructure Google. You can't.
Okay, so break that down. What does vertical integration actually mean in this context?
It means they own everything, from the bottom to the top. They make their own chips, the TPUs, the tensor processing units.
So you can't beat them on hardware costs.
Nope. And then you can't out-distribute them either. They own search, they own YouTube, they own Android.
They already have 4 billion daily users.
4 billion. So you can't just build a better mousetrap. They own the entire mousetrap factory and all the houses that need them.
There's another perspective on this that I found fascinating. It's not about which tech is best.
Right, the TPU versus the GPU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about what becomes the standard.
That is the absolute key. Think about it like, VHS versus Betamax. It's not about what's technically superior. It's about what everyone adopts.
And Alphabet is playing the long game here. They're trying to set that standard by embedding their tech at every single layer of the stack.
Right, and that includes putting in things like an AI-ready customer data platform. It's all designed to lock you into their ecosystem.
Let's take a brief break for a special message from our producer, Curt Robbins.
Hi, this is Curt Robbins. First, thanks for listening. I truly appreciate your support. I want to let you know that I'm currently accepting new clients. My rates are affordable, and I have more than 25 years of experience working for enterprise companies like Microsoft, Northrop Grumman, Oracle, PNC Bank, FedEx, USAA, and Wells Fargo, among many others. If you want to improve your IT documentation and communications, hire me. I deliver fast, know how to use AI to improve efficiency and accuracy, and love going the extra mile to satisfy my clients. Thank you for subscribing and listening. Back to you, Daphne and Fred.
Welcome back to the AI for Career Success podcast.
Okay, so before the break, we were talking about how Alphabet is using its whole ecosystem, its vertical integration, to try and become the new standard in AI compute.
Which takes us right into the AI chip war.
Yeah.
I mean, for the longest time, Nvidia was it. They had a monopoly on the GPUs you needed for AI.
They did, but that story is starting to fracture, and the biggest crack is coming from Alphabet's own chips, the TPUs.
And they're not just saying they're an alternative, they're actually starting to poach huge customers.
This is the bombshell in the source material. Meta,
Yeah.
Facebook. Yeah, one of NVIDIA's absolute biggest clients.
Spending billions.
Billions. They are reportedly in talks to spend billions on Google's AI chips instead.
Wow. That's not just a crack, that's a direct hit. What does that signal for the market?
It signals that AI leadership isn't just about GPUs anymore, and, maybe more importantly, it shows that the big buyers want options. They do not want to be stuck with a single supplier.
Of course not. Nobody wants to be held hostage on price or availability when you're spending that kind of money.
So if Alphabet can prove that their TPUs are more cost-effective at massive hyperscale levels, everything changes.
Then what happens is compute heterogeneity.
You got it. It means using a mix of different chips becomes the normal way of doing things. It's not just a GPU world anymore, and that weakens NVIDIA's pricing power and forces everyone to rethink their strategy.
Okay, so let's connect this back to our listeners. If you're a professional, a founder, a marketer, what does this battle of giants mean for you?
Well, the first big takeaway is a dose of humility. You have to stop trying to compete on infrastructure.
You're not going to beat a $4 trillion company at its own game.
You're just not. The real opportunity, the smart play, is to solve very specific, very niche problems. The kind of problems that big tech is too big and too slow to even care about.
So instead of trying to build a new general-purpose AI.
Right. You build something that uses their AI to solve, say, a super specific logistics problem for one particular industry in one geographic area. You go deep, not broad. Specialization is the key.
That makes sense. But we also have to talk about the more uncomfortable side of this, what all this AI efficiency means for jobs.
Yeah, this is the tough part of the conversation. The sources are pretty clear that we're seeing a negative employment trend.
The brutal math being that if AI makes everyone more productive, you might not need as many everyones.
That's it. You can get the same or even more output with fewer human jobs, and we're already seeing it happen. The sources point to recent layoffs at Amazon, UPS, Verizon.
And how is that directly tied to AI?
It's automation enabling cost-cutting. In customer service, chatbots are replacing agents. In logistics, AI is optimizing routes, so you need fewer planners. For data analysis, algorithms are just faster and cheaper than teams of people.
So these companies are showing Wall Street they can cut headcount because the technology can pick up the slack.
Exactly. And even the government is seeing this. An experiment called DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, showed how AI could drive workforce reductions. So the final takeaway for professionals is that the market only rewards one thing right now.
Real-world results.
P&L impact. Real cloud growth. Enterprise integration. A flashy demo isn't enough anymore. You need to show how your AI plan actually makes or saves money, period.
That is a very sobering but necessary reality check. Okay, as we wrap up, we always like to leave our listeners with one final thought to chew on.
Yeah, and this one is about just how volatile all of this is. Remember, this whole AI stock rally is still happening inside the larger global economy.
Right, it doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Not at all. The source pointed out that the odds of a Fed rate cut in December jumped from 50% to 80% in just a few days. All because of a few comments from a Fed governor.
So something completely outside of tech can pour cold water on this whole rally or, add more fuel to it.
Instantly. It just shows you how quickly the sentiment can shift based on things that have nothing to do with AI chips or chatbots. It's a powerful reminder to keep the bigger economic picture in mind.
Thank you for listening to the AI for Career Success podcast from Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. We'll see you next time.